All right, welcome to the deep dive.
Hmm.
Today we're going to be tackling something that I think a lot of people find both kind of intriguing and a little bit daunting: Google interview questions.
Yeah.
And we've got a fascinating guide here called Preguntas de Entrevista de Google. Prepárate para el desafío, which, for those who don't speak Spanish, basically translates to Google interview questions. Prepare for the challenge.
Right.
And our goal is to kind of extract some core insights into what kinds of questions they ask and what those questions really reveal about how this tech giant, evaluates talent.
Absolutely. I think whether you're, actively thinking about a career change or you're just kind of curious about how a company like Google goes about assessing potential, or, I mean, even if you just enjoy a good mental challenge, understanding these interview questions offers a surprisingly valuable perspective. It's not just about, try and get a job there. It's about understanding how a leading innovator approaches problem solving and how they assess a really wide range of skills.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's a great point. And I think our mission today then is to kind of go beyond just simply listing these questions. We want to kind of unpack why Google asks them and what underlying principles they're actually trying to evaluate. But the guide highlights 5 key categories, and we'll kind of dive into each of these: technical questions, behavioral questions, system design, analytical and problem-solving questions, and then questions related to their culture and values. So let's kind of start with those technical questions.
Sure, sure. So, when Google delves into the technical questions, it's crucial to understand that they're not just looking for someone who can, write a line of code. They really want to see a depth of understanding of fundamental computer science principles, and even more importantly, the ability to apply those principles strategically to tackle these real world, often incredibly complex challenges.
Yeah. The guide gives some great examples of the types of technical questions that you might encounter. We won't get bogged down trying to solve them in detail right now, but just to give you a sense, imagine being asked how you would go about designing a distributed system.
Right.
Think of it as a system that's spread across multiple machines, all kind of working together,
Yeah.
that needs to handle millions of user requests simultaneously.
Right.
That right away tells you they're deeply concerned with issues of scale and resilience.
Precisely. And it's not just about, handling that sheer load. It's about understanding that modern systems need to be fault tolerant and gracefully degrade under pressure. It's a core tenet of building reliable infrastructure.
Yeah.
Or consider a question about, choosing the right data structures for building a recommendation system, something like what YouTube uses.
Right.
That really probes your knowledge of different ways to organize and manage data, and your ability to select the most efficient tool for a specific task. Right.
Always keeping scalability in mind.
And it's interesting, it's not solely focused on those massive, global challenges. They also delve into more foundational concepts, like asking candidates to explain, the differences between object-oriented programming and functional programming.
Sure.
This kind of question really checks for a bedrock understanding of different approaches to software design.
Absolutely. And of course, there's the staple of the technical interview, which is the coding problem.
Right.
Something like finding 2 numbers within a list that add up to a specific target value.
Right.
These questions assess your ability to think algorithmically, to break down a problem into a series of logical steps, and then to translate that thought process into, clean, efficient, well-structured code.
Right. They might also explore, more advanced algorithmic concepts, like as the guide mentions, detecting cycles in a directed graph, or efficiently finding a majority number within a list.
Yeah. And a question about how you would handle concurrency in a multi-threaded system.
Yeah.
That gets to the challenges of building software that can perform well, even when many things are happening at the same time.
Exactly.
So even if you're not a software engineer yourself, you could appreciate that these technical questions aren't just about knowing the right keywords. They're about a deep understanding of the underlying science that powers these complex technologies.
Right.
Now, I think here's where it gets really interesting, is when we shift our focus to behavioral questions. Because it's not just about your technical abilities, it's about how you operate as a professional.
Exactly. Google uses behavioral questions to gain insights into how candidates have approached and navigated various situations in the past because, as the saying goes, past behavior is often the most reliable predictor of future behavior.
Right.
And the guide specifically highlights the STAR method, that's situation, task, action, and result, as a framework that they look for in these answers.
Right.
It provides a structured way for candidates to present comprehensive and relevant examples.
Yeah, and the examples the guide provides are really revealing.
Hmm.
They might ask you to describe a time when you faced a significant challenge, and the specific steps you took to overcome it.
Sure.
And this isn't just about the problem itself. It reveals your problem-solving skills, your resilience in the face of adversity, your ability to learn and adapt.
Right.
Or, consider a question like, tell me about a situation where you had to work with someone who was, difficult to collaborate with.
Right.
That really gets to your interpersonal skills and how you navigate these potentially challenging team dynamics.
Absolutely. Questions about a time you took a risky decision and what the outcome was, or about your experience leading a multidisciplinary team.
Right.
These really delve into your leadership potential and your comfort level with uncertainty and making impactful choices.
Right.
And I think that the question about a significant mistake you made and how you handled it is particularly insightful.
Yeah.
It offers a window into your self-awareness, your ability to take ownership of errors and learn from them and communicate that learning effectively.
Right. And then let's not overlook the question about how you manage pressure when faced with tight deadlines and multiple tasks.
Sure.
In a dynamic and fast-paced environment like Google, being able to manage your time, to prioritize effectively and maintain productivity under pressure is clearly a crucial skill.
Right.
So for you, our listener, thinking about these behavioral questions isn't just, preparation if you're interviewing. It's also a fantastic opportunity for self-reflection on your own professional journey.
Sure.
And how you might articulate your experiences and skills more powerfully, regardless of your current field.
Right.
You might even have an aha moment or two about your own approach.
Plus.
Now, let's transition over to system design questions. And these definitely sound like they're geared towards, a more experienced technical audience.
That's generally accurate. System design questions are more commonly encountered in interviews for more senior engineering roles.
Okay.
They're designed to evaluate a candidate's ability to think strategically at a high level about the architecture and design of complex, scalable systems. And what's particularly fascinating here are the sheer scale and ambition of the examples outlined in the guide.
Yeah, get ready for some really large-scale thinking.
Right.
They ask things like, how would you approach designing a storage system capable of reliably storing the profile photos for billions of users?
Right.
Just think about the sheer infrastructure and the technical considerations involved in handling that volume of data.
Sure. Or, walk me through the design of a search system for Google Maps. Consider the massive amounts of geographical data, the real-time nature of location information, the critical need for speed and accuracy in delivering search results.
Right.
These kinds of questions really push you to think about the various trade-offs involved in different architectural choices and the fundamental design patterns for building, resilient and performant systems.
And the challenges don't stop there.
Right.
Designing a distributed load balancer. That's a system that efficiently distributes network traffic across multiple servers.
Right.
Or outlining the architecture for a real-time chat system capable of handling millions of concurrent users. Or even, sketching out the architecture of Google's global search engine itself, or a video streaming platform built for massive concurrency. These examples really underscore the kinds of incredibly complex engineering challenges that Google tackles on a daily basis.
Absolutely. And it's important to note here that they aren't necessarily looking for, a single definitive correct answer.
Right.
Instead, they're far more interested in observing your thought process.
Right.
How do you break down a huge complex problem into smaller, more manageable components? What are the critical considerations you identify in terms of, scalability, reliability, performance, security?
Right.
What are the inevitable trade-offs you would need to make in your design, and most importantly, what's the reasoning behind those choices?
Right.
So for you, our listener, these examples offer a really compelling glimpse, kind of behind the scenes of some of the core technologies that you interact with every day, and provide a deeper appreciation for the architectural thinking that underpins them.
All right. Next up, we have analytical and problem-solving questions, and these sound like they're designed to give your mental muscles a good workout.
They absolutely are. These questions are specifically crafted to assess your critical thinking abilities, your capacity to effectively approach ambiguous problems where there isn't a clear-cut solution, and your aptitude for making reasonable estimations when precise data might not be available.
Right.
And the guide includes some really classic examples of this type of question.
Like the well-known Fermi problem.
Yeah.
Roughly how many piano tuners are there in New York City?
Right.
I remember encountering these kinds of questions years ago, and it's not about having the exact number at your fingertips. It's about demonstrating your ability to structure your assumptions, to break down the problem into smaller estimable parts, and perform logical calculations to arrive at a defensible estimate.
Precisely. It's a powerful way to test your ability to think logically under uncertainty, and to systematically dissect a complex question into more manageable pieces.
Right.
Then you have more product-focused analytical questions. Like, if you were the product manager for Google Search, what are some ways you would explore to improve the user experience?
Right.
This type of question evaluates your product thinking skills, your understanding of user needs and behaviors, and your creativity in coming up with innovative solutions.
And then there are questions that involve estimating, large-scale data.
Right.
Like calculating the approximate daily data generated by users of Google Photos,
Yeah.
or estimating the number of packages shipped daily within the city of San Francisco.
Right.
And again, the emphasis isn't on getting the right number. It's about the methodology you employ.
Right.
What key data points would you consider relevant?
Yeah.
What reasonable assumptions would you make to guide your estimation?
And finally, a question like, how would you go about evaluating the effectiveness of a global advertising campaign run on YouTube?
Right.
This blends analytical thinking with a degree of business acumen.
Right.
It requires you to think about relevant metrics, how you would approach data analysis, and how you would measure the overall impact of the campaign.
Right.
And what's particularly intriguing about these kinds of questions is that they often spark really fascinating lines of thought and exploration, even if you're not in a role where you'd directly encounter them.
Absolutely. It's about flexing those critical thinking muscles and developing a structured approach to tackling the unknown.
Right.
Now, the final category of questions that are highlighted in the guide focus on cultural organization and values. And it's very clear that for Google, technical prowess is only one piece of the puzzle.
That's an absolutely crucial point. A company's culture is a vital element of its success, and Google places a significant emphasis on ensuring that they bring in individuals who will not only perform their roles effectively, but will also thrive within their specific work environment and contribute positively to the overall company ethos.
Right.
And these questions are specifically designed to assess a candidate's alignment with Google's core values, and then to understand how they might interact with colleagues and contribute to the broader organizational culture.
Yeah. Some of the specific questions mentioned in the guide include, why are you interested in working specifically at Google?
Right.
And this isn't just a routine question. They genuinely want to understand your motivations, what specifically attracts you to their company, and whether your values and aspirations align with theirs.
And then there are, questions that explore your understanding of and commitment to contributing to an inclusive and diverse workplace.
Right.
As well as how you would, navigate and resolve conflict within a multicultural, team environment.
Right.
These questions really underscore Google's, strong commitment to fostering diversity and inclusion, and the importance they place on respectful and effective collaboration, across different backgrounds and perspectives.
So the question, what does the phrase "fail fast, learn faster" mean to you, in a practical sense?
Right.
Provides valuable insight into their approach to innovation, their acceptance of calculated risk taking, and the paramount importance they place on extracting valuable lessons from both successes and setbacks.
And finally, a question like, how would you approach balancing your own creativity and innovative ideas with the existing structure and established processes, within a large organization like Google?
Right.
This explores whether a candidate can be both innovative and adaptable,
Right.
capable of contributing new ideas while also being able to effectively, work within a larger organizational framework and respect established workflows.
Right.
Understanding these core values really, provides a significant insight into Google's operational philosophy and what qualities they highly prioritize in their employees.
Yeah.
It offers multiple perspectives on how they approach their work and their people.
So the guide also provides some key strategies for effectively facing these interviews,
Yeah.
which sounds like absolutely essential advice for anyone even contemplating applying.
Absolutely. They emphasize the fundamental importance of thorough research and dedicated practice, truly understanding Google's specific culture and values and actively, reviewing the experiences shared by other candidates who have gone through the interview process. Honing your analytical and problem-solving skills through practice is crucial for tackling those challenging questions, as is, proactively developing personal projects that can showcase your initiative, your technical skills, and your creative abilities in a tangible way.
And the guide wisely circles back to the STAR method for
Right.
answering behavioral questions,
Nice.
stressing the ongoing need to prepare concrete and well-structured examples from your past experiences that clearly demonstrate your relevant skills and the positive outcomes you achieved.
Right.
Ultimately, it really seems like comprehensive preparation is the cornerstone for demonstrating both confidence and clarity in your responses throughout the interview process.
Exactly. It's about demonstrating, not only that you possess the necessary skills and experience, but also that you have the ability to effectively articulate your experiences, your thought processes, your problem-solving approaches in a clear and compelling manner.
So, to kind of bring our deep dive to a close, exploring these Google interview questions through the lens of this guide, it really underscores that their interview process is incredibly rigorous and multifaceted. They're not solely focused on identifying coding experts. They're conducting a comprehensive assessment of a wide spectrum of technical proficiencies, critical problem-solving abilities, crucial behavioral traits, and a strong alignment with their fundamental company culture and values.
And for you, our listener, gaining an understanding of these questions offers a really valuable glimpse into the priorities of one of the world's, leading technology companies.
Right.
Whether you're actively navigating the job market or simply driven by curiosity, it provides a fascinating insight into how they identify, evaluate, and ultimately select talent, which, can undoubtedly be beneficial in various, aspects of your own, professional development and intellectual pursuits.
That's a really insightful way to look at it. And on that note, here's a final thought for you to consider. As you've listened to us kind of unpack these different categories of interview questions, the technical, the behavioral, the system design, analytical, and cultural.
Yeah.
Which particular category do you personally find the most challenging, or perhaps the most inherently interesting? And what might that reveal about your own, inherent strengths and perhaps some areas where you might focus your growth, either in your professional life or in your own, intellectual explorations.
Sure.
It's definitely some interesting food for thought. Thanks so much for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, thank you.